Fourth race weekend of the BMW IBSF Bobsleigh and Skeleton World Cup, and it's a wet one here in Germany's Hochsauerland. Not a flake of snow in sight in Winterberg. It is definitely much more like late Autumnberg today. Well, we're in the Dutch Alps for the final day of sliding, and this morning's action is women's bobsleigh. Martin Haven and Anne van Nieuwenhuis close to home for the Belgian slider, and it always brings in the fans for the Low Countries as well as for the German athletes. And this afternoon's race, the four-man, that's going to see an even bigger crowd, but good to see fans back at the track, Anne.
Definitely, and it has stopped raining so far.
Yeah.
It looks like we have a lot more spectators now at the track than we had early in the morning for the first heat, so that's nice to see. The athletes will have some support there.
Well, we've got an entertaining battle on our hands just outside the podium spots, but a couple of hundred separate Katie Humphries, bronze medalist in January, from Kim Kilicki and Leonie Fiebig, who took the silver medal in the last race here. They're in third place after the first heat, and they had a pretty decent-looking run.
They had a very good-looking run, but she didn't have the top speed that Laura Nolte had, perhaps. She was almost a kilometer per hour down on speed compared to Laura.
Well, not too far ahead of her, just 300ths, in fact, is Lisa Bookvitz with Kira Lipperheider. And Lisa was here last year as a brakewoman, now driving towards her own medals. And that
Lisa
makes
had an excellent start, but made some mistakes along the track, so you can see she's, compared to the other German pilots, she's the least experienced ones, and she will clean that up in years to come.
And off 3 straight wins on this track, Laura Nolte leads. She won here last time, in fact the last 3 times, with regular brakewoman Deborah Levy. Deborah's out for the season, so Nels Skuten is behind her. They had a strong start and a near flawless run from Nolte, but she can go quicker. There were mistakes.
And very impressive drive. Second fastest start, fastest at the bottom. 2200s up. It's a big lead on this track.
She won the Monobob race yesterday and was delighted. Her friends, her family, her brother, her mum and dad, her 80-year-old grandparents were here. It's only an hour from home for her, so this is very much home ice for her, and she leads. She's got a comfortable advantage, but there are some tight battles further back that could see a lot of changes in the order. And the other thing here, as we saw yesterday, as we always say, it's so easy to give time away on this track. It looks straightforward. It is a track where new sliders come to learn their art, but as always, the devil is in the detail.
Especially the detail in the upper part of the track, where you can see the start ramp here, start record of Ilana Myers-Taylor with her brakeman Jones.
Yeah, that was Kerry Jones.
Kerry Jones. She had a lot of Jones.
Exactly.
And then we have the quiet upper part of the track, who's really flat, and you want to be quiet there. Every mistake will cost you a lot of speed that you cannot carry down the track with you. So actually you see here between curve 3 and 4 there's a slight uphill, and then curve 5 still fairly flat, and that's where you get into curve 6 into Kreisel. We've seen a lot of mistakes in 5-6 in this weekend. 270-degree Kreisel coming into curve 8, and that's where the track starts to drop, where you get the speed, where you get high pressure in this tricky curve 9, technical part of the track. Big turn 11 that sets you up for the labyrinth, where you get to the highest speed on this track. Fast combination of left and right turns, and then the big uphill 14 curve onto the finish line and the braking stretch.
The start record from Lana Myers-Taylor and Kerry Jones. Alana not competing this year. She's just had her second baby. They didn't win the race. That victory went to Jamie Grubel-Poser and Sherelle Garrett. But the all-time track record, Anja Schneider-Heinze and Annie Dradzek. And again, they didn't win in the Worlds when they set that. They were the silver medalist as well. So fastest start, fastest time, and silver medals don't always go hand in hand, but
this
in those
is an
cases
interesting
they
track.
did. Yeah,
and we will see it next year again when World Championships are here.
Yes, and you know, we talk about consistency over 2 runs. Then, of course, in the Worlds, it's consistency over 4 runs, and that makes it even more difficult. Melanie Hassler doing what so many athletes do, which is think their way down, make the physical motion, and just rehearsing the track in your head.
Visualizing the track, and then doing the driving motions looking at your plan A, but also knowing what to do when something doesn't go exactly to plan. You need to adjust to it, do a little bit more, do a little bit less, be a little bit more patient, or react a little quicker.
The quarterback scramble of bobsledding. Well, there is our start list. We go from last to fast. Georgeta Popescu leads us away. Second and deciding heat, race 4 of the BMW IBSF Women's Bobsleigh World Cup. We're here in Winterberg in Germany. Martin Hayden and Anne van Nieuwenhuis watching Georgeta Popescu and her brave woman Antonia Sabu. Away they go from the start.
And she was a junior world champion here last year. Junior world championships here again next week, so she will be looking to extend that title. A 6 flat again, just like she did in the first heat. And looking quiet in these upper curves of the track.
Victoria's just 20 years old, her brave woman making her World Cup debut. She's not raced officially in a bobsled before. When you see from above, she had trouble fitting in. She looks like she's in a little bit more comfortably this time.
A bit of a dip there and then high near the exit of Kreisel, pressure taking her, and then high and low, and she controls the exit, taps on the take on of 11, pushes her away, little wavy line there. The quite okay looking labyrinth, hard hit coming out of 13 and low, but keeps the pressure. She had a little bit of trouble there in the first heat as well, and improves almost by half a second on her first heat.
Yeah. And again, it's that ability to learn and to put that into practice. You know, this is less than 60 seconds to get down, and every single one of those seconds is filled with information you've got to digest and then try and work on.
And here you can see she brings it down a little bit too soon, and then the pressure picks her up again at the exit of 9. And that pressure pushes her to her left side, right side of the screen, and then she taps and is pushed away in the entrance of 11, makes her go waving up and down. You can see her runner movement there, really trying to control that height in the second wave. And there the hit out of 13.
Yeah, you saw a haul on the steering there. She knew she was in trouble going high late. But it is Georgeta Popescu of Romania that leads. Next up, Riley Compton. Never raced on this track before. Emily Renner behind her. Riley Compton, the Marine Corps Female Athlete of the Year last year. And 25 years old, 23-year-old brake woman in only her 3rd World Cup start.
They pushed a 5.78 in their first push. And they had the 13th fastest start time with that time. Little trouble getting in, getting her hands on the D-rings. Getting her push bar in 5.74, slight improvement. A little touch coming out of 0, but kept it parallel.
Like in the first heat, Riley was very slow or very easily getting into the sled, not making any quick movements.
And like I mentioned in the first heat, I think she's driving a rental sled.
Yeah.
So this is probably a setup that she's not used to yet, and she's still trying to figure out the most efficient way to load into the sled. We've seen some parallel hits now along the way, and only 2nd fastest speed compared to Georgeta Popescu from Romania. Hit there as well on the take-on of curve 9, little bit wave up and down. And that same mistake that the Romanian girl did right before her, waving through 11, soon on the take-on, and that's why she has to drive it hard off of 13 and controls the exit of 14 really nicely.
Didn't quite have the speed of the Romanian sled, but she has the lead, 58.37, so 100 slower on that run. And that means that she survives on her first heat advantage. And first time on the track, you're trying to learn the track, but in 2 different sleds, so she's got to divide her runs between the 2-seat sled here and the Monobob sled, so there's extra confusion.
It definitely has made women's bobsled more interesting, that they now, just like the men, have to share their time between 2 sleds and only have 6 runs to learn both sleds. And every week they go to another track, so it's quick learning.
First time in Europe for Riley Compton. And that's the 3rd different type of sled she's driven this year. She started with a Bodine, then I think drove the BMW, and is now in a BTC. So all slightly different. Think about changing from one brand of rental car to another. And you know that not everything is where you expect it to be. Next up for Slovakia, our second debutante of the day, Victoria Cernanska, with Lucia Mukrasova behind her. Cernanska made her debut in the monobob yesterday. Youth Olympic silver medalist in 2020, behind Georgeta Popescu, who won the gold. And Lucia has not raced a bobsled before either. She is a tall athlete, and she is finding it a little struggle to get down low behind Victoria.
500 improvement compared to their first heat start, 590. Little touch coming out of zero, but kept it parallel, so it shouldn't rob her of too much speed. But she's already in the red compared to Riley Compton.
Yeah, she had 100th in hand over the American slider, so our leader remains just in front, but the gap is coming down.
She has highest speed, gave a little bit of time away at the start, but she's looking to pick that up.
Now, her nemesis is a little lower down. She nearly crashed it in both monobob races between 12 and 13. This crossover caused her a lot of trouble, and it does again.
Slight touch there as well. Early on 12, and I hope she doesn't have too much trouble coming out of 13.
Second best speed, she's in the lead, but not by much. Does she have it at the line? 2300s.
And we saw a little bit of the brakeman popping up already just before the finish line. And Milan's very pleased with that run.
Good news for Victoria Cernanska. She extends her advantage over the USA's Riley Compton.
And I do think that track is a little bit quicker because we've seen two of the brake girls already going past the place where you can get out of the track. So I think it's a little bit faster compared to what they felt in the first heat. Here the slight touch pushing her away in the entrance of 9, and that makes her popping up and down. And has that end pressure out of curve 9. Puts her over like we've seen so many sleds do. And here the exit of 13. And a little lift off of the back runner there.
And there's all the glamour of bobsleigh.
It's a really,
sled around
it's a really tricky exit of this track.
Well, next up is the USA's Nicole Vogt with Jasmine Jones behind her. 35-year-old driver's 11th World Cup race. Only her second time on this track. Jasmine Jones, her 4th bobsleigh start in World Cup, that is.
579 in the first heat and a 586, so they lost a little bit of time there.
Glad to see that they are at the start line. They rolled out to the final corner and came upside down up the finish straight.
So it will definitely have caused some bumps and bruises, and it's never easy to... Oh, and there's a little drift there going from 3 to 4. Her back end stayed a little bit too long on curve 3, and it pushed her into that skid. She's driving really nice lines through 4, 5, 6 though, and highest speed coming out of Kreisel. Long there, so it pushes her over to the early entrance of 8, and the slight touch going into 9 as well. Really nice exit at 9, parallel into 11.
She's the only one of the 3 Americans driving the BMW sled. Their speed at the bottom. First run, a roll off the final corner. She avoids that. There's Victoria on the right, takes the lead away from Victoria Cernanska and Lucia Mukrasova.
And really nice to see some sun there in curve 14.
Don't mention it. So slower at the start, but quicker on the run. 58.13 compared to 58.22. So slender advantage.
So here, she stayed a little bit too long on curve 3. And that's why the back end gets pushed away from the wipe. And here in the exit of Kreisel, she brings it down a little bit too soon. That's why she has that pressure in her sled, keeping her on that wall. And a slight touch going into curve 9. But it good and nice control.
Everybody! Okay, sorry, Bob!
Yeah, we all know that.
When parents get up at dark 100 in the US to watch it, and then they see their beloved crashing. Well, next up, Bianca Riebe and Neve Hockey. Big day for Neve Hockey. 2 years to the day since she made her first ever official bobsleigh race start. Bianca Riebe had a good start to her World Cup endeavours, taking victory in the monobob in her very first appearance in Whistler.
And a better load for Bianca and Neve. 571, slightly slower, but a lot more velocity taken with them to curve 1.
Yeah, she was off zero sideways and snaking down to turn 1 in the first heat, and that's a much better looking run.
And now she will be looking to carry the speed all the way down the track. Very nice transition from 5 to 6, and also avoiding the tap going into Kreisel. Very high speed.
Well, she's another North American slider that has never seen Winterberg before, so learning fast in both the mono and the 2-seat sled.
A slight wobble there from 9 to 11. It's a very clean looking run, and she has a big advantage compared to the sleds in front of her.
Yeah, she only had 900s in the first heat, and that's out to 810s. That's a big second run from Bianca Riebe. And that shows the difference between getting 0 really wrong and getting it much better.
This time would have put her into 5th place after the first heat. She is 7/10ths faster than she was in the first heat. So you can see how much that mistake in curve 0 cost her in the first heat.
Yeah.
Really good job cleaning that up.
Might see her hang out in the leader's box for a while. Little skatey down at the bottom, but a much better run.
Good control there, crossing her over from 11 to 12. A little bit high, and that's why she just bumps both bumpers against the right wall going into curve 14. A little bit back runner lift off there.
And with more speed, she's getting to all those corners quicker than she was in the first heat, and actually quicker than she was in training probably. So it's, again, a different track. So big run from Canada's Bianca Riebe. Not too far in front of her, just 1400s faster in the first heat. Martina Fonteneva with Mara Morell joining her on the back of the sled. Fonteneva in what is likely to be her final season. Had one of her best World Cup results here, 7th place in the race in January 22. This is her first World Cup start since the last race last year, St. Moritz.
And a little drift there out of the starting grooves as well. The controls is 568, 100 improvement compared to the first heat. Fastest start, but second fastest velocity. That little wobble will have affected her a little bit. And 2/10ths in front.
Again, in the first heat, we saw nice clean lines from Martina, but the speed just kind of kept disappearing.
That might be due to overdriving to get the clean lines, and this is the balance you try to find as a pilot. How much do I want to control it? How much do I want to let it free, let it run?
2/10ths down to 1700s.
Big wobble there.
Down to 1200s. This is going to be close.
Perfectly timed that right pressure, so curve 10 would put her into curve 11.
A 10th and a big mistake in 14. I'm not sure
And
she's
rolls
got
it over as well.
She does. 500s. She just let it fly.
I hope they get caught and it don't slide backwards.
Yeah.
Luckily, the track workers and one of her staff and teammates are there to help her.
Yeah.
You could see in the entrance of curve 14, she hit the take on and it put her really high wavy. So she came up and down too soon, and that pressure caught her again in the end.
Again, as with Nicole Vogt in the first heat and Jasmine Jones, both of our athletes are out quickly. And again, Martina doing the dog's body's work. But yeah, very high, very early, you're always in trouble then.
And then coming from low, having the pressure in the end, and hitting her head. You can see the spectators there also being very surprised of what happened.
Absolutely.
And a hard hit for Mara in the back as well, so I hope
Mara's
she's all
already
okay.
starting to take her hands off the handles and go for the brakes, but yeah, they're down, they're safe, they're okay. So 500ths of a second, you can hear Billy Billman, the track announcer, giving the crowd the advantage. It is Martina Fonteneva who leads after our first 6 sleds. So 6 sleds down, 10 to go. You can see the ambulance coming up the hill. The medics would just want to have a quick word with them and make sure they are okay. but it's not the first sled to roll out of the final corner and won't be the last. They're carrying so much speed down there. They're doing 130 kilometers an hour. Doesn't leave you much room for error, does it?
No, and you want to shortcut that exit, so obviously you want to create a little pressure to get to that finish line faster, but it's such a balance to find the right pressure to do it and not overdo it. It won't affect your time, your finish time. By the time you get rolled over, you're already across the finish line.
Yeah.
But it's never nice for your brakeman to do that.
No, exactly right. As we talked about, when you're sitting in the back of the sled, whether you're in a two-seater or four-seat sled, there's tiny little, normally they're sort of bent bits of metal like a bolt or something. You can manage maybe to hook a finger in on either side, and that's what holds you in when it all goes upside down. But in the final corner, the brakewoman may well already be releasing nose and getting her hands into the middle to grab the handles for the brakes. In which case, of course, you're not secured to the sled at all.
And that really is a problem here, because when the track is fast, you really need to be on the brakes as soon as you cross the finish line, but especially in Eagles, where the finish is so quickly after the last curve. You want to be on those handles, and hitting there or rolling out of that finish curve, it's a really painful thing for a brakeman.
Yeah, well, we'll experience that after we have the World Championships in St. Moritz. The calendar from here on in, 2 race weekends in Altenburg next week and the week after, unless you're doing Junior Worlds, in which case you stay here. And then 2 weeks in St. Moritz for the World Championships last week of January and the first week of February. 6 sleds down, 10 to go. Race 4 of the BMW IBSF Women's Bobsleigh World Cup at Winterberg in Germany. Lots of fans on hand here. Our current leader is Martina Fonteneve of Switzerland. Next up is the first of 2 Chinese sleds, Yinqing and Wang Yu. Martin Haven and Belgian racer Anne van Nieuwenhuis watching the action with you.
571, 300 slower than her first heat. Just a little bit too much of curve 0, pushing her to the wall, going to curve 1. Quiet transition from 2 to 3. Middle late entrance into 4 gives her a lot of time to turn it and go parallel to curve 5.
She had 1400s after the first heat. That gap is down to 8, only third best speed.
Clean lines in the middle part of the track, but doesn't carry as much speed as we've seen some of the sleds so far. Good exit there, nice early entrance into curve 11, controls the waves.
Martina Fonteneve wasn't the fastest, but she was faster than Yinqing.
It's going to be a really close finish here.
Yeah, 300ths of a second, so the Swiss move up.
And it was almost a sigh of relief to move a spot up.
Yeah, any movements up the order now will help some of those aches and pains go away, at least until they wake up in the morning, stiff as a board.
The inside of a sled is no marshmallows and clouds.
No, it's not.
Metal and bolts, and definitely hurts the body to roll the sled.
Yeah, built for speed, not comfort. I think people are surprised when they see inside a sled for the first time. Where do you sit? Well, there are no seats.
You just sit on the bottom of the sled.
Sit, yeah. So Yinqing and Wang Yu slip a spot, may still get a top 10 result. It's by no means guaranteed that the remaining sleds will not make mistakes. First of them will be their teammates, Wai Mingming and Wang Juan. And Wai, with the better results on this track, she had a 6th place here in January, although she did have a 19th place in the race in December 21. So last season was very much a mixed bag for her here.
And a very impressive start of these two in the first heat. They had the 5th fastest start time with a 5:61. Quick, efficient load, hands on the D-rings, 5:60. 100 improvement. A little bit of curve 0, but kept it parallel, just avoided the wall going to curve 1.
Yeah, you can avoid that tap, you keep plenty of speed on board. So she's extending her advantage now over Martina Fonteneve.
And took the far line around curve 3, just touching before curve 5 there. And a big gap
She's now doubled her first heat lead. Speed is as good as the Swiss drivers as well. Top speeds at the moment still from Bianca Reedy of Canada.
Slight skids coming out of curve 6, coming out of Kreisel. Nice parallel line there, going into curve 11. Good control, early transitions. Bit of hard rock there and a hit before going uphill into curve 14.
Losing a bit of time, but she takes the lead by 0.2 of a second, 57.53, so not quite as fast. She goes from 21 to 20 hundredths ahead of Martina Fonteneva, but that means that with 8 to go, Martina will have a top 10 finish. Does that make it? No, she had a 7th here in January. Not her best result, but Y could be closing in on that. Y's best result here was a 6th place finish. Let's see where she gets to.
Little far around curve 4 and her back bumper hits that expansion joint. And here, hard work coming off 13, coming out of the labyrinth. Tries to avoid that wall, barely does.
Well, there she is, Y Ming, our current leader. Now, she was the first of 4 sleds that are covered by just 0.03 of a second. So basically now we're throwing names up in the air and seeing where they come down. And I think maybe that mistake down towards the bottom of the track might consign Y to losing ground. Next up, Melanie Hassler with Irina Stradel joining her on the back handles. Melanie's best result at this track, a 9th place in December 21. She's on target to improve on that, but she wants a top 6.
Runs it very far, a quiet load. 566, a little hard going into curve 0, but keeps it straight going to 1.
So losing a fraction at the start to the Chinese sled. That's multiplying already.
You can really see her pointing to the entrance she wants to have between curve 3 and 4. Not the speed the Chinese sled had. And she is losing time along the way. Let's see if she can stop the bleed. She's picking up some speed again. Closing in.
Yep.
Very good exit there. Parallel entrance to curve 11.
Led the first heat of the Monobob race yesterday with a really great drive, and this second part of the run is looking very good for her. It's going to be close at the line, maybe to the 100th.
Wow.
100's in front. 57.52, exactly the same downtime as teammate Martina Fonteneva, but without rolling out of the final corner. So she added 100th to her lead over Y Ming. Told you it was going to be tight, didn't we? Yeah.
It's all in 100.
Yep. And that's why that dip over the line, getting your head out of the airstream, can be worth a position, maybe 2.
Getting out of the grooves there, still having to put her push bar in their middle
Quite a tall
lines.
driver as well, so...
Yeah, it keeps her head quite low.
Yep.
And the sigh of relief there from Rico Peter as well.
Yeah.
Smiles and waves. And it's still Bianca Reeby who has the fastest time of the heat.
Yep. Well, next up is Andrea Greco with Teodora Vlad behind her, and Andrea had 0.00 of a second lead over Melanie Hassler. Melanie tied the time that Andrea had set, so Melanie goes first. Formiago there in the background, the man who has been so instrumental in Romania having a bobsled team for the last quarter of a century. This is their home track. Paul is based here. They spend a lot of time in Winterberg.
Running it really long as well. Efficient load, 572, 500 improvement on their first start.
Little nudge on the wall on the run down to 1.
They had the 12th fastest start time in the first heat, and she drove it to 7th place, so she really knows this track. It's her home track, has a lot of runs here.
The way she's coming straight down the middle of everything, and that's the experience.
She really knows how to drive it. Fastest speed going into Kreisel. A little bit of pressure there. Keeps her on the right side of the track. Middle entrance going into curve 9. And perfect pressure putting her early into curve 11. Nice looking run.
But it's getting close.
She is bringing it back, taking all the speed she can get uphill.
Better speed than Melanie Hassler and has the lead.
And a very excited Polnia.
57.50. So the last, well, 3 of the last 4 sleds have been a 5-0, 5-2, 5-3, and a 5-2.
Very close racing indeed here in Winterberg.
Well, her best result on this track, Andrea Grecu, is a 6th place. She is currently the leader with 6 to go.
Very quiet, parallel lines. Don't see a lot of action in her runners. Letting it slide, letting it come off there. Just a little sideways, hitting that back bumper on the take-on of curve 14. But a very nice looking run from Andrea.
Andrea. And her woman Theodora, we think, will be staying here for the Junior Worlds next week. Cynthia Appia next up with Leah Walkenden joining Cynthia in the sled for only her 3rd World Cup start. Well, 2 World Cup weekends already on this track for Cynthia Appia. Let's see what she can produce. Can she move up the order?
5.66, 200s, slower than the first heat. Parallel tap from 0 to 1.
She had 100th in hand over current leader Andrea Grecu from the first heat.
And she outstarted them by 600s, so that's why she's in the green. A little bit long there, and it pushes her over to that expansion joint, hitting before curve 5. And her lead is slowly diminishing.
Yeah, not as quick as the Romanian sled.
Early onto curve 8 as well. Keeps it parallel middle to curve 9.
And that hit with the expansion joint has really sucked the speed out of the sled. Now only the 9th fastest sled. She's the 11th athlete to come down.
And everything was really close there, so I think she might lose a lot of space.
Yeah, I think she will. 1200s back, we'll see her down in 4th place. 4th it is. Top 6 finish for the Romanians. So Andrea Grecu equals her best on this track. And Cynthia will have to wait and see what else happens. Her previous best is an 8th place, so this is a PB for her, but she went in the wrong direction as far as she's concerned. And that expansion joint, the lump of ice that sticks out at the end of the metal bit of the top of the wall, watch that. Boom, she hits that, and that basically just sticks the brakes on.
It robs you of speed, it pushes you away from the entrance of curve 5, making you have to work harder there, dipping her head, trying to get all the time possible. But by then, her mistake had cost her a little bit too much speed.
So top 3 covered by 500s, Andrea Grecu, Melanie Hassler and Wai Ming Ming. So you either beat all of them or none of them, likely.
Sarah Blizzard from Australia.
5 sleds remain. 4th race of the Women's Bobsleigh World Cup. We are here in Winterberg in Germany with Bree Walker and Sarah Blizzard from Australia. And this is actually Bree's local track. Not local to where she was born, but local to where she lives in Frankfurt. Racing together for the first time in almost 12 months, this pair.
572. That's 700 slower than they did in the first push, so...
Yeah, they were disappointed with that. A 65 in the first heat, and 700s by the rule of bobsleigh maths means 2100s behind at the bottom.
Parallel line there. No hits like she did in the Monobob.
Well, she had 2300s over Grecu from the first heat. She is gradually adding to that.
Waving through Kreis a little bit early to curve 8. Middle entrance, high in the beginning of 9. A little bit of pressure puts her nicely to curve 11.
She's still got speed here. On target to lead at the bottom of the run, which will be a personal best in Winterberg. Across the line by 2/10, that'll do it. Top 5 guaranteed for Bree Walker and Sarah Blizzard. Her previous best here was a 7th place finish. That was her World Cup best ever in December 21. So that is all sorts of bests. Top 6, a 5th place finish guaranteed for the Aussies. Her best ever World Cup result.
She's very pleased with that.
And Sarah was as well.
Skid there, late entrance into 9, and that's why she's high up there, controls the second part. And we can see her through curve 11, just letting the sled run along.
A nice start to her coaching relationship with Pierre Luders this season. First World Cup race back and best ever World Cup result. Yeah, loving life at the moment as well, coaching a single athlete with no big government body behind. So 4 to go. Who's going to take the medals? There is a battle of 3 sleds covered by 800s for 2nd, 3rd and 4th. First to go, Kaylee Humphries, 2-time Olympic champion, winner on this track back in 2012. Makes a laugh behind her.
A little trouble there getting into the sled. 555, 200s improvement, and a little touch and drift going into curve 1.
3300s ahead of Bree Walker from the first heat. It's unlikely that she's going to lose that, but her eyes will be on grabbing more medals.
Middle late entrance into curve 4. A little slide there coming up 4 to 5. Nice transition to curve 6, but touches there going into Kreisel. Really clean looking lines now.
Last women's bobsleigh medal on this track for Kaylee Humphries back in the 2015-16 season. She got a bronze after the World Championships here in 2015.
Really clean looking exit of the labyrinth.
Good
Uphill,
speed.
2nd speed.
Yep, and 57.25. That's only 700 slower than her first heat.
And she's actually the first sled who goes faster than Bianca Reeby's time in this.
Yeah. But did not have better speed than Bianca Reeby. Bianca had a really good run. It won't be reflected because of that problem Bianca had in corner 0 on the first heat. She'll end up in the top 12, but not maybe in the top 6 where she might have been. Katie taking just a little moment to get in.
Move up again,
Yeah.
her feet getting caught on something inside the sled, and then being able to drop. And that's why she's far around curve 0, has that parallel touch, and she just avoids the wall on her left side going into curve 1.
These two took bronze in Lake Placid the last time they raced together. Let's see what happens. Kim Killicky and Naomi Fiebig, last time they raced together here in January, they took the silver medal. They currently lie in 3rd place for this final run to decide the medals. Kaylee Humphries, the leader, was 500 slower than Kim. Naomi Fiebig was telling the track announcer after the first run that apparently, at the age of, 32, she is now deciding maybe she might try skeleton. Entertaining. 5:53 the getaway, 300s quicker than their first heat.
And the same parallel touch than Kaylee had. Keeps it straight to curve 1 then. Slow transition there, no wobbles coming out of curve 3. Points it perfectly early into curve 5. No trouble so far. Slight touch there going into Kreisel. You can see the brakeman really bend double.
Absolutely buried in the sled. Second best speed still to Bianca Reeby or Andrea Grecu. So this is
Slight skid there going into curve 11, but she has a big lead over Kaylee.
Yeah.
Still 2200s.
This will be the fastest run of the heat so far. Kim Killicky will put herself into the medals with a 57.07. Boy.
And now we know we will have a German winner.
Yes. The last time there was not an all-German podium was 2018-19 when Alana Myers-Taylor it was last year, the last race actually. Kaylee and Sylvia Hoffman took a bronze. And before that, Alana and Lake Quaza took a bronze as well.
Ja, Mann, geht doch! Ja, geht doch!
And that slide skid there, going into curve 11. By the time you're down on this track, you have high speed, so the mistakes don't cost as much time and as much speed as they do in the upper part of the track. But still, you want to avoid those skids and sideways slides.
Lisa Buchwitz with Kira Lipperheider. Both of them have been medalists on this track as break women. Both of them have been gold medalists on this track as break women. But can they now take gold combined with Lisa doing the driving? Their advantage over Kim Kilicki and Leonie Fiebig, their teammates, 0.03 of a second.
They had the fastest push in the first heat. A 5:52. Let's see if they can bring it under the 5:50s.
Wow.
50 flat. With a lot of curve zero. Doing that same parallel touch, and as faster as you start on this track, the harder curve zero gets. We will see a lot more trouble also this afternoon in the four-man racing. It is a lot harder when you get with high speed to that curve zero.
And it's a long old sled to get round there as well.
Clean looking run so far.
Don't forget, 300s up from the first heat. She's adding to that.
Highest speed going into Kreisel. Slight touch there going into curve 8, but avoids the tap going into 9. Little wobble. Takes the pressure on the hit, puts her into a skid. Up and down.
And that's
but a good entrance of the labyrinths.
That is gold gone. Can she now hold on to take the silver? Kim Kilicki, does she lead at the line? She does by 1100s. And Lisa Buchwitz, rather. Lisa Buchwitz, the leader. We saw Kim Kilicki on the right there, which is why my brain slipped a gear. And Leonie Fiebig.
I'm very happy.
Yes, absolutely. Our first World Cup driving on this track, Lisa Buchwitz. She's seen this place a lot. She's seen this place a lot from the back seat. She's seen it a few times from the front seat.
And I think
This
this
is
is her
her
first
World Cup
medal.
debut in Germany.
First World Cup medal as a driver.
Yes, that will be right. Yeah, 4th and 5th in Park City and Lake Placid.
And pressure there. Pushes her to that take-on of 11 and pushing her backside away, that skid. But
And they're young driver mistakes, aren't there? It's that lack of familiarity, that lack of run repetition.
And the track is a bit faster now in the second heat, so you need to adjust to that again. Different conditions mean different reactions.
Yesterday, the Monobob winner. Today, Lauren Alter, our Olympic bobsleigh champion, in her 22nd World Cup race, is looking for her 9th win. She has 3 straight wins on this track alone. Is this number 4?
Very quick load of the brakeman, 5:56, 100 slower than their first heat.
Well, the key for them is not blowing it in corner 0. They have nearly a quarter second in the bank after the first heat over Lisa Buchwitz. Getting out of 0 with the lead is absolutely fundamental.
And she's sitting very low in her sled, and you can see her like moving across to see over that little point her sled has. Really trying to be aerodynamic.
I love the way she drives as well. You're right, leaning around the point, but also she uses body lean as well as her hands controlling the runners to move the sled around.
As a pilot, you try to look as far as possible to point your sled to where you want to be, and she's doing it excellently.
Super smooth
Touch
lines.
there, but
what's the drama? There's the late flop.
130 kilometers an hour again.
Best speed, fastest run, victory for Lauren Alter, her 4th straight win here. 3 with Deborah Levy, and now for the first time with Nell Scooten. Well, this is very much home territory for Lauren Alter, just an hour from home. Her family and friends are here.
Big hugs with the brakeman.
Yeah, claimed victory in the Monobob yesterday, won on her own in Lonely Bob, and now claims victory with Nella Scooten.
And greeting all the fans. Vanessa, one of the other German brakemen here. I think this is the first World Cup win for Nele as well, so a big moment for her too.
Nele's 5th bobsleigh race. And she is mingling with the very best. Lauren Alter victorious here, the first heat leader by a sizable margin, 22 hundredths of a second up. And she nearly doubled that to win, going away by 35 hundredths. She definitely is the benchmark in women's bobsleigh on this track right now. No question at all.
I think she's a favorite on every track by now.
Well, in North America, she was 4th in Whistler, 2nd in Park City and Lake Placid, so that's her first gold of the season in women's bob. She's got 2 monobob wins now under her belt. Lisa Buchwitz, Kim Kalicki complete the lockout of the podium. Kaylee Humphries, Bree Walker, a career high, and Andrea Grecu ties her best, in fact, improves on her best ever result on this track. And Bianca Reeby, what might have been for the first-time driver here, after a disappointing first heat. Yeah, you know, just another day at the office. I love to see that. They are so excited to do well. And look at this. Look at the crowd here.
Big home crowd.
Yeah, really nice. Friends and family for the first time in years being able to come out and see the athletes. And that win brings Lauren Alter hot on the heels of Kim Kalicki, with Kaylee Humphries still 3rd in the World Cup standings, ahead of Melanie Hassler and Bianca Reeby. So lots to conjure with after half of our World Cup races. 2 more before the World Championships, and then Innsbruck and Sigulda to round out the season as we head through February. But we will lose some of our starters this week to the Junior Worlds, which are here in Winterberg next week. You'll be able to follow that online, but you'll be able to watch all the action live from the 4-man bobsleigh, the Königsklasse, the blue ribboned events. Join Anne van Nieuwenhuis, me, Martin Haben, and the IBSF TV crew this afternoon for all the action. We'll see you then. Bye for now.